Hi, thank you for checking out another tech tutorial. So in this video, I'm actually going to go over everything that you need to know about creating a meeting in Microsoft Teams. So if you missed the previous video, what I did was a brief walkthrough of Microsoft Teams. So we did some basic configuration because we're setting up Teams from scratch. So if you missed that video, check it out. And in this one, I'm going to go over everything that you need to know about creating a meeting. So what you're seeing on the screen is my brand new team setup. So I'm just going to go to calendar because that's where I want to start talking about meetings. So we have a few options to creating meetings in Microsoft Teams. So the first option that you need to know is that, well, I'll talk about the ways in which persons can join your meetings first. So you have three options if you are to join a Microsoft Teams meeting. You have the browser. So once a meeting is created, a link is sent. So you'll have three options. The browser is one, the desktop app is another, or the mobile app. All three will give you a similar meeting experience, but you may have some situations where, depending on what it is, you may feel more comfortable joining at one of the three options. For me personally, I prefer the desktop app. I do have the app installed on my phone, and if I absolutely have to, meaning let's say this is a machine that I haven't used, haven't been able to download the desktop app for some reason, I'll just go to the browser and I'll be able to still take part in that meeting. I've tested all three, used all three. I'm comfortable working my way around all three. And I think you should do as well, because just in case, you never know what the situation may present, right? So we're in this calendar section. So Teams will integrate with your Exchange environment. So the meetings that we schedule here and set here will be the same in Outlook. So once I would have, well, we'll get to that later on. So the first option I have is a Meet Now option, right? I'll see this to the top right. So if I click Meet Now, we consider this an impromptu meeting. So maybe I just got an idea to speak to somebody about a training session that I'm going to be doing. So I can just give this a quick title. Let's say training for customers. And I do have the option here to just check my video to be sure it's okay. Let me actually see. Well, so my camera is blocked. So let me go to set that up just now. Okay, so let me go to custom setup here. Okay, I see what's happening there. Yeah, so I have multiple cameras set up, so that's what that was right there, right? So I have that set up. I do have my mic turned on. So in this case, I am leaving them on, but I strongly recommend that if you're joining a meeting, be sure that your background is quiet, be sure that you have the noise controlled somewhat, and be sure that everything that's behind you is okay before you turn on camera and microphone. All right, so I'm gonna click join now. And so I'm in this meeting. So what I typically have the option to do here is to invite someone else. So I can type someone's name, and I'm going to use Joni because I used Joni as an example in the last meeting. Now this is a fictitious company that's being set up, so I'm not going to be able to have Joni join, but I'm going to select it here, and it's going to be calling Joni's Teams application. And what Joni will have the option to do is answer on her side, and then she'll be able to join this meeting, right? So that's the first option. I'm going to go through the options that we have within the meeting later on, but I just wanted to present this first option to you now. So I'm going to leave that one. And the next thing that I'm going to do is there's this new meeting option, which gives you the opportunity to schedule a meeting. So once I click on new meeting, I'm going to do the same session. I'm going to say training session for customers. And I'm going to require Joni, and I'm also, well, Joni. For now, I do have the option to add optional attendees, and I can do that here. And what they will see, they will still receive this invite, but they'll see themselves in the optional field. I'm gonna set this one up. I want to give Joni a certain amount of lead time. So I'll say 1 o'clock today. 30 minutes should be okay. If I wanted to set it for an all-day meeting, I could, but why would you? I do have the option to set this as a recurring meeting. So let's say that we agreed that we're gonna meet every Tuesday. So let's say weekly, every Tuesday starting with today. And I can add, so last week I would have created a team called tutorials. So I'm gonna post this meeting in the general channel. I do have, so if it is that it's not for a team, I don't have to select this option here. You do have that choice. And then this location, if you think about, let's say some organizations have meeting rooms, I could select a meeting room here if that would have been previously programmed. So I'm just gonna send Joni some information to let her know why we're having this meeting. So as discussed, please see the agenda below for our discussion. All right, and I'll just have, item 1, item 2, and item 3. So those are our talking points. And then I'm just gonna say regards, and I'm gonna send this meeting out. So it's faded out here because it's still being configured. Once it's been set up, you'll see it highlighted. And I'll just jump briefly to the meeting that we set in the last video. It's still there. So I'm gonna come back. So here we are now with the meeting. So we see two things. We see that it has a channel icon there, and it has 2 arrows in a circular fashion, which means it's a recurring meeting. And I do have the option to go into this meeting now and edit it. All right. So another thing I wanted to show you here, so let me just go to, let me edit this particular occurrence. So there are a few things that I wanted to know about this part of the meeting. Let's say that I wanted to see if I'm setting a time that is convenient for the both of us, which is actually pretty important because you may be sending out meetings, a few persons may not respond, some persons may say, well, I'm not available at that time. Scheduling assistant allows you to see the persons within your organization, to see their calendar, and then you can determine the best time for everyone in the meeting to have that meeting. So you do have that opportunity. So this is a very important tool to do that. So you may set a meeting, or you want to have a meeting at a certain time, but that time is not convenient for everyone. You have the chance to choose a time that works. So I do have that option here. I just wanted to point this out because many persons don't know that this tool is available to them. So it has, so if I wanted to make some adjustments here, I can. So let's say I've seen that 1 p.m. can't work. I'll switch to 2, and it moves the time for the meeting here. And I'm just gonna send an update out to everyone. So it's moved in my calendar as well, and it will move in Joni's calendar. All right. And since we've set this meeting in a team, I'll just hop over to that team in general channel, and I'm seeing it here. So I've seen the description that I've sent to Joni here, and this session that has been scheduled. So I'm going to jump back to my calendar. The very last thing that I'll show you before we go to do a walkthrough of the meeting itself is live events, right? So you use live events in a few situations. So at my company, Innova, we use live events for webinars that we have each month. So we cover various topics, and we'll set them as live events because it's a very easy way for persons to join a meeting, and it's great for external users. So the scenarios in which you'd use a live meeting could be, let's say you're having a large organization meeting and you want everyone to be able to join easily. So you'll see as I configure this live event, the options that are presented. So the standard, let's say I'm going to set this, let's say I'm going to have an introduction to training series. I'll call it webinar. So the location, as I mentioned before, if it is that I had locations set up previously, it would populate there. So let's say I had a meeting room, or let's say I had a device that was set up, it could work right there. I'm gonna set this one for Friday. I'm gonna set it at 1 p.m. So it's a webinar, I'll give myself an hour. So we have here time zone, and this is actually something I missed in the previous setup. Always be sure that your calendar is set to the right time zone, because this can throw off settings for users. So I'm going to leave it at the default because that's okay for me, but be sure that you have that set up. So I'm just going to do, this is a brief description. So a key thing for live events are roles. So we have roles of presenters and producers. So a producer is the one who coordinates the live event behind the scenes. They'll queue up presentations, they'll add remove presenters as needed. So typically for live events, you need at least 2 persons, right? You do have the ability as producer to present, but typically you want to have that coordination. So while you're presenting, someone else can be managing the behind the scenes stuff. So I have Joni from my team as presenter, and I can actually add more persons if I wish. So I'm gonna add Joanna as well. So they are both presenters. If I wanted to make myself a presenter and switch someone else to producer, I could do that. I'm gonna click next. And so we see here where I can choose a specific group or persons that can watch this live event. I could have an organization-wide, or I could make it a public event. Now, the default settings actually don't allow me to have this set up here, you see from this message. So I'd have to, troubleshoot that to see what is preventing me from doing that. But for your installation, if it is blocked out, speak to your admin and they will speak to you. They will let you know what is required to have that enabled. But for a public event, users are given a link, so you can post that link on your LinkedIn page, on your website, however you send that invite to customers, and they'll be able to click on it and they'll join the live event, and you'll be able to administer it as a producer in the background. So we have some options here as to how we will produce the live event. So we can make the recording available to attendees, depending on what it is you may or may not want to allow that. The recording will be available to producers and presenters. This may be important. Let's say the presenter wants a copy of the presentation they have done. You can do that there. Captions, that will be text that is shown at the base of the screen while you're speaking. Depending on the type of event, you may not need that. Attendee engagement report. This report lets us know, the time persons joined, maybe and gives us some other information about the attendees for the event. We can also enable Q&A. This is a very, very good tool to allow persons to ask questions and for you to be able to respond to them. All right. So I'm not going to comment on the other settings right now, so I'm going to hit schedule. And we see that our live event is ready. So I can copy this link and send that out in an email, or send that in a team, or just post that anywhere on social media. And when the date comes for the event, persons will be able to join. So I'm going to just scroll down to let you see what it looks like. So this is a link that will be presented. So I can, this email would have been sent to the 2 persons that I've selected. I can click close, and you see it here in my calendar. And as you see, the icon for it is different. It lets me know that it's a live event. So you see the differences between the icon that is shown for this meeting and this meeting. It gives you, so that you have that understanding as to the type of meeting that has been scheduled. So I'm just going to go to I'm going to go into a meeting now to give you a walkthrough as to what that entails. So we see the same thing here as we saw when we selected Meet now. I do have the option to turn on and off my video and audio. I can customize the setup. So as you saw, I have multiple webcams. So I do have the option to select the one that I want to use. I'm just going to hit join now. And that's pretty much my meeting here. I do have the option to add participants here. It shows that Joni was invited, but she has not responded. So I can click request to join, and it will try to dial her. And that is pretty much it that I wanted to cover for creating meetings. In the next video, I'll go through just, the meeting setup, the options that we have, how to change your background, how to control certain settings within the meeting, how to mute participants, and some of the other things that you may want to consider in just managing a meeting. So I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in more tutorials like this, please subscribe. If you want to see a particular type of content, just let me know in the comments below and I'll work on it for you. The idea behind this video is just to help persons use Microsoft Teams effectively within their organization. So